Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to rank in a tier list all of the Scadutree Erdtree remembrance bosses. Plus Bayle, because Bayle is not a remembrance boss, but he's pretty epic and we have to rank him. Before starting with the first boss, I will run you through on how I'm going to rank up each tier. At the top of the tier list, we have the peak boss fights. Here I'm going to rank up only bosses that are considered masterpieces, the best of the best. If something is off with a boss, it can't go there. Maybe on great fight, but not on peak boss fight. Right down below we have great fight. Here I'm going to rank up bosses that are excellent almost, but lack that extra something that makes them truly legendary. On above average, we're going to add the very good boss fights that weren't the best, not the worst, but also not average, just above average. On it was okay. We're moving down to bosses that have some tedious mechanics or lack some variety, but they are okay, but they have maybe they're maybe pretty linear, or they don't have something that is flashy, no cutscene, no dialogue, nothing special with them. Or also the design, maybe the design is pretty mid. On could be better, we have here we will add bosses that have significant issues that the community dislikes. Maybe they spam something that it's very bad. This includes poor design or simply not being worthy of the title boss. On the trash tier list, we are putting a boss, it's only one, I will let you know from now, that it should not exist in the game in its current form, and if it does, I would like to see some kind of rework in its abilities. With that being said, let's start our tier list. Also, I want to mention that the order I'm ranking each boss is the order I found each and every one of them in the game. I don't remember about Golden Hippo, so I'll just put him second. I fought Radahn, it was the 5th boss I found, and I went back and continued playing the game, and at the end of all the other bosses, after I finished everything in the game, I went back and fought Radahn. Okay, so our first boss is Divine Beast Dancing Lion. I will put it on it was okay, and I will explain you why. So, first of all, the arena, it's pretty open, big arena. If you don't pre-plan before entering the boss fight, try and position around the center of the arena. It becomes very difficult because of the camera angles. The problem with this boss is that if you don't see its head, it's very difficult to understand what's coming next. So you only have to play at the center of the arena. If you defeat it and replay the fight a lot of times, it's a very easy boss. You just go in and kill it in a minute. But at first, like me on the first day of the DLC, when I reached this boss, I found it pretty difficult to understand what's going on. Biggest problem was that I didn't go in with a lot of Scadutree fragments. I think I had maybe 1 or 3, something like that, maximum 3. I didn't have more than 3. And every fragment gives you 5% bonus damage, and you take around 4 to 5% depending on the tier decreased damage. So, going in early on this boss, it's a nightmare, but if you get Scadutree fragments and you know what's up, like die 5 to 10 times to just read the attacks, the fight becomes pretty simple once you understand what's going on, and this is what happens with this boss. It's a very simple boss, very simple. All it does, it has a bite attack kit, and then it has the smoke attack. On phase 2, it has one extra attack on each phase: the lightning bolt on the lightning mode, the stomp on the ice mode, and the tornado on the wind mode. So yeah, we can say that it's a pretty average boss. It's an average boss, especially if you compare it with the other bosses in the game. Next we have the Golden Hippo. This boss, it's a nightmare at first. You can't see what's going on. You are stuck in a corner all the time, getting stomped, trying to time the attacks. I died a lot of times and got pretty frustrated I'm pretty sure I also didn't have a lot of Scadutree fragments again. So yeah, this boss also has two phases. The first one I found it more difficult than the second because the phase 2 attacks are easier to dodge. Other than the camera and the fact that there are like 3 or 4 more hippos in the game, that for me throws it down a lot. Like maximum average. If it was a very good boss, I would put it maximum on average because of the they duplicate the boss a lot of times for the DLC. I didn't like that. If it was only this one, this hip only, I would put it on could be better because I really dislike bad camera angles. I really dislike that. So yeah, Golden Hippo goes on bad. Next we have Rellana, one of my favorite fights of the DLC. I will put it in great fight. She's very tough, a very tough boss at first, especially as the third boss of the DLC for me. I got nuked like one shot and two shot a lot. Yeah, phase 1, pretty simple. She just does like 50 different blade combo attacks. Once you fight her like 10 times, you learn every combo to dodge it. And you just run her through phase 2 pretty easily. Her magic attacks of phase 1 are very easy to dodge also. The sword spam, you just roll it, very easy to dodge. And the magic arc, also very easy to dodge it. Phase 2, her damage increases by a lot. You can get nuked if you are not full HP and you didn't use your flasks. I was expecting some kind of cinematic, to be honest, when you enter the arena for the first time. Just like we had with Messmer, the cinematic before the fight. So if we had this, maybe I would put it on peak. Or if the fight wasn't that linear on phase 1, phase 2 was peak for me. But other than that, yeah, it's a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for me. Next we have Messmer. This goes straight up to peak boss fight. Top 3 boss fights of all. No, not of all time. Top 3 boss fights of the DLC for me. Him and 2 that are coming up next are the top 3. At first I hated this fight. I was getting frame drops. I could not understand what's going on. His flames visuals were covering the entire screen. I could not see what's going on. After a very good amount of deaths, once I understood what's going on, and after dying a lot from the snakes on phase 2, I got a grasp of the fight, and I just realized how peak this boss fight was. The thing with this boss fight is that when you fight him, you get very frustrated when you die. But after you beat him, you realize how good this fight was. Because he's on peak, it doesn't mean that this fight didn't have its flaws. The main one is that I found it very difficult to understand what's going on because of the visual effects. And also I had frame drops. On Messmer and on Radahn, I had a lot of frame drops. And that was very frustrating. Now for Romina. I will put Romina on above average. I didn't play this boss fight a lot of times because I killed her very fast. I think I played it like 5 times maximum. The design of the arena and the whole atmosphere is a masterpiece. But she is freaky as shit. This design, the scorpion centipede with the human in the center, yeah, that's not beautiful at all. But the color palette and the whole atmosphere was 10 out of 10. Her abilities now. Her combos on phase 1 before the Scarlet Rot thing are pretty simple, very easy to dodge, and if I remember correctly, what I did was staying close to her human side and avoid her back and the front head of the centipede. Yeah, it reminds a lot of OG bosses from previous titles of fromsoftware. It had that old school flow that made it very easy to get past through her. Also, after I think I procced her phase 2 on my second run, and once I saw it was Scarlet Rot, I don't remember the name of the incantation, but I used the incantation that cleans Scarlet Rot, and it removed it on the run that I beat her on. I think it was the 5th, 6th, something like that. Yeah, I used that to remove Scarlet Throat, and yeah, just kill her very fast. But yeah, my overall impression from this boss is that it's a very above average. It's not similar to the big boss fights, and I wouldn't compare her with Rellana, but she's very above average. Maybe I would put her in great fight if it wasn't very similar to the... Maybe, I don't know why, but I feel like this could be also a Bloodborne boss in 2024. And also the colors remind me a lot of the Corrupted Monk arena in Sekiro. So this is the reason I'm putting her in above average. Maybe if she was a bit more flashy and her kit was a bit more complex because she didn't have a lot of moves, I could put her on great fight. Commander Gaius. Now, this guy goes to trash, and it's the only boss I'm putting there. I have two good reasons, I believe. So, first reason I'm doing this is because of the charge attack. This hitbox feels so wrong. I feel like I dodge it every single time. I've done this boss so many times, and I just can't get this timing correctly. It's like it's just one frame or something. I will go and replay this boss a lot, and I believe that I will figure it out in the end. But for the average Joe, this attack feels like you can't dodge it. Let's be honest. Of course, most of you that watch this, probably for watching Elden Ring content on YouTube, you are good players. Some of you have figured it out. But yeah, I believe that this attack could be patched and increases the time window to dodge it. Other than that, the most frustrating thing, other than this hitbox, is the kick of the board back kick. You can dodge a 15 attack combo from this guy. You wanna pop a flask, and this board just kicks you and knocks you back. This thing has happened to me more than 100 times. It might be more. The strategy I had was to stick in one of his sides, I don't remember which one, and just pierce through his HP. I used Rivers of Blood, and this is bad for this boss because he's strong versus slash, but he's weak to fire, so it's not the best weapon anyways. Rivers of Blood is not that good anymore. Yeah, at the end of the day, I killed him, but it was after a lot of tries. I think this is the boss with I had the second most deaths after Radahn. The overall fight, the first time you enter the arena, it's very fun. The thing that he says while charging. Most attacks are easy to dodge. He is very similar to 3 Sentinels sometimes, not every time. The gravity attacks, not the biggest fan. They are easy to dodge, but sometimes I feel like I should dodge them and I don't. Yeah, in this boss I mistimed it a lot. I'm putting him in trash just because I want to see some changes in this boss. I understand why FromSoftware went with this approach on having this type of boss in the DLC, but this boss, if you compare it with the rest of the ones in the Shadow of the Erdtree, it's just not it. Maybe okay, Hippo of course is worse, but it feels like it needed more QA testing and more polish. Next, we have Metyr Mother of Fingers. I am going to put Metyr in above average. Metyr is a very unique fight with a great quest that builds up to the boss fight. Unfortunately, the locations that you have to go to progress the quest, I found them a bit empty, but this has nothing to do with the boss, so it doesn't affect the ranking. Metyr is weak to slash and bleed. I think that I used the Leonora's pole blade, dual pole blades for this fight. So yeah, I melted her very fast. She has a very frustrating ability, two frustrating abilities. The first one is the laser ability, and the second one is the fingers side attack, where she walks and attacks with her fingers towards your direction. Other than those two attacks, I found this fight similar to the Elden Beast. If you get greedy, you get punished very easily and hard by Metyr. Her phase 1, it's very easy, but it's not a boss that melts you, but you take a lot of cheap damage all the time, and you end up wasting a lot of flasks. And because it can be tanky, it can be a tanky boss, you can end up without flasks if you are not very careful with your vigor management. The build up to the fight is better than the actual boss. She's not at the level of Messmer, but she's not that bad like Hippo and Commander Gaius. One last thing I want to add about this boss is that, as I am a big cosmic horror fan and also a huge Bloodborne fan, if we were going to, rank these bosses in terms of design and lore, this is S tier for sure. This is an S tier boss, but in terms of the boss fight, I am putting it in above average. Now for Scadutree Avatar. The design of the boss, the arena and the music are absolutely fantastic. But the actual boss fight, I'm not the biggest fan. I believe that it could be better. It has some unique attacks like the root throw and the charged light explosion, and it's also the only boss with 3 phases in the DLC. I find the second phase much more difficult than the third, as the boss is more aggressive, but also in the third phase you have the light explosion, which is very deadly. So overall, every phase has its positives but also its negatives. The most negative thing that I can think of is the fact that the whole boss fight is very repetitive. Also, you can use fire, which this boss is very weak to, and if you go with a build like Blasphemous Blade, it's just like a walk in the park. This fight is a joke. You spam Blasphemous Blade 3 or 4 times every phase and it's over. All you have to do is maybe dodge 1 or 2 abilities. Also guys, remember, just because I put it in it could be better, it doesn't mean that this fight is not good. It just means that the rest of the bosses are so good that I have to put it in below average. Now for Putrescent Knight. I was expecting a lot from this boss. This is the last boss I fought before Radahn because I don't know, I missed that part of the map and I had to go and check out where this guy is because I've seen him on social media, and yeah, so I had big expectations because I read comments like this is the orphan of course of Elden Ring and stuff like that. And when I went in and explored the abyss part of the map, I was waiting for something very big. And don't get me wrong, every boss that it's at an edge of a map and it has its own backstory and it builds up, all of them are very good. But I was expecting much more from Putrescent Knight, and I don't mean from its design or the location. I mean it from a point of very simple kit with a very annoying fire attack. The part where the knight splits with the horse and then the horse comes out of the floor and attacks you, I find this part of the fight very unique and you have to stay alert, but you get to learn this move very fast. Maybe after if you die 1 or 2 times, the third time you go into the arena, you will dodge this move every single time after that. The attack that smashes his weapon on the ground a lot of times, like Orphan of Kos, yeah, this was very nostalgic to see. Also, the whole area and the color scheme of the place, and the fact that you have to drop from the top of the bull's head inside the abyss to get into the arena, that was very cool. So yeah, this is an above average fight for sure. I just don't see it to fit in peak or either great with Rellana, for example. So yeah, I will put Putrescent Knight on above average. Now for Bayle. Bayle for me is a peak boss fight for Shadow of the Erdtree. It has everything you want from a dragon fight, except the camera angles. I will get into it in a bit. It has everything you want from a dragon fight. It's epic, he's aggressive, he has great attacks, a variety of attacks. He strikes you from everywhere. He also has a fly attack, which I did not expect because of the fact that he has 1 leg and 1 wing. It has everything you want from a dragon boss. The only problem with this boss is the camera angles, which are abysmal, especially if you try to copy the way that you play dragon fights from the base game, which you spam attacks, for example, on the legs. you will find it pretty tough because it's impossible to see what Bayle is going to do next. Also, you get punished very hard for doing that. Best thing you can do is to play with a weapon that can stagger him a lot, and you want to aim for head attacks. If you start doing that, you will see how much your gameplay will improve. Also, the build up to the boss fight, which you start climbing the mountain and encountering types of dragons. I think it's 2 boss fights before Bayle, and the moment that you reach the top, before entering the arena, you realize what's gonna come next. Also, the quest with Egon that wants to revenge against Bayle. This is also pretty fun. I did not summon him, but afterwards I went on YouTube and saw the quest line, how it ends up. Yeah, the voice actor did a fantastic job. He's for sure an Elden Ring fan. Yeah, this is why I'm putting Bayle on peak boss fight. Next we have Midra, Lord of Frenzied Flame. Personally, this is my favorite boss fight in the entire DLC, but unfortunately I killed him pretty fast and I wasn't able to experience this fight a lot. But nevertheless, what I have to say is that the build up to the boss is probably the best in all of Shadow of the Erdtree. I really like that in the Abyssal Woods you were not able to summon Torrent and it would pop up this message that the Torrent is afraid. The Winter Lantern guys, that if you look at them, you build up madness, and if they catch you, they kill you instantly. By the way, you can parry with a shield that attack, and then they can't take damage in case you didn't know. The mansion of the boss, it has that sense of mystery, and when madness is also involved, that brings also a sense of cosmic horror. The fight itself now. Okay, the first phase, easiest thing in the world. Just hit him 5 to 6 times and yeah, it goes into phase 2 after the cutscene. Now, the phase 2 also has a phase 2 and a phase 3, we can say, or he gets more powerful after you bring him to close to 60-70% HP. The first half of the second phase, you can learn to dodge his attacks pretty easily. I really like how he uses his weapon, and on the other hand he has his dagger. Personally, human-like enemies, I find them always more enjoyable to fight because the dodges are have more flow, I have to say. Now for the second half of his second phase, he gets more aggressive and I believe he deals more damage also. The big flame explosion is pretty deadly. This is the attack I died most of the times because I mistimed my dodges, but you can easily learn to dodge most of his attacks really fast. Yeah, I didn't spend more than an hour on Midra, but I realized that fire doesn't deal much damage versus him because he's Lord of Frenzied Flame. At first I used dual pole blades, but because they scale with fire also, they deal fire damage, I realized that my damage is pretty low. And what I used was just an Akagiba. Yeah, I killed him with just Nagakiba, with seppuku. Or maybe I also had Hand of Malenia on the other hand, I'm not very sure. But this is the weapons that I used. And after a few tries, I managed to beat him. Yeah, so Midra of course is a big boss fight for me. And personally, as I said before, he is my favorite boss in Shadow of the Erdtree. Now for our last and final boss of the DLC. The easiest boss in all of Souls-like games, which everyone did no damage first try. Radahn. Where should we place Radahn? I think Radahn goes on above average. So, for me, this fight is not peak, but also it's not bad or trash like people say on the internet. It has its flaws. Number one flaw for me is that his second phase drops my FPS sometimes, depending on the attack, to the 30 FPS range, and it messes up with my dodges a lot. But yeah, his first phase, yeah, not gonna lie, even if his first phase is easy compared to the second one, it still took me a day, and in reality it took me much more because I tried so many builds to see what is working or not. Yeah, I wasted around 10 larva tears on Rellana to find a good build. I even tried some cheese builds, like the sealed one. So Radahn I believe it took me 2 days 2 or 3 days to beat him. 3 days if you add the time I took out of the boss to go and find items and stuff. This is the most difficult boss. Yeah, Radahn, the most difficult boss in the DLC and probably in all of the Souls games I played. I also struggled with Isin a lot. Isin also took me 3 days. So they took the same amount of time. On Isin I was going to lose my sanity. I really questioned if I'm going to beat Sekiro. With Radahn, I did not question that. I knew it was gonna happen because every time I was dropping his health bar lower and lower. I messed up a lot with the Miquella attack that he grabs you. And then I also died 2-3 times to try and take the buff out with Miquella's Great Rune. Yeah, phase 1, very easy. He doesn't have a lot of attacks. He has the swings. He also has that jump that he does, the meteorites, the flame slash. Yeah, all of these attacks are easy to dodge. The most difficult one that he messed up was the double swing that he's doing from the ground up. Yeah, I always wasted a flask or two on the first phase because of those attacks. Now for phase 2. All the times that I died, I had 6 to 7 flasks in me. I believe that I died maybe 1 or 2 times with 0 flasks because I was out of health. The first attack that he does, that nuke where he goes up into the air, it's not the hardest thing in the world, especially if you react fast and get out. Now the boss fight as a boss fight, lore wise, I was not expecting to see Radahn up there. I was not. When I saw it's Radahn, yeah, I got really hyped, but after beating him, I was not satisfied with the ending, to be honest. I thought Radahn was something like Radagon, and something will come up after him, like the Elden Beast, which it did not happen. Maybe most of us had very high expectations that were so high that it wasn't gonna happen. But seeing Prime Radahn, yeah, that was pretty cool. So for me, Radahn goes on above average because he's a really fun fight, but he also has its flaws. Yeah, it's very difficult. They made it difficult on purpose. The reason that they did this is because this is the final boss of all Elden Ring, of all content. So they want to give you something to work on and spend a lot of time before you finish the game. It's the last bit of content you can play of before you finish everything. So it has its reason to be difficult. Of course it does. But compared to the rest of the bosses and everything in the game, I believe that this fight could be much better. It could just be much better. It's a good fight, but not the best. And this is why I'm putting Radahn in above average. So, there you have it, guys. That concludes my tier list for all Shadow of the Erdtree Remembrance bosses, plus Bayle, and I hope that you enjoyed this ranking as much as I enjoyed making it. Remember, this list is based on my personal experiences with the game, and this is just my opinion, so I would also love to hear what you think in the comments. If you agree with my rankings, or even if you disagree, please let me know, and let's have a discussion down below. Also, if you liked my ranking, please make sure to subscribe, as this is a very new channel. I just hit 12 subscribers yesterday, and yeah, if you'd like to support me, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, stay safe, and see you in the next video.